Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to WrestleMinute. My name is Jack, professional wrestler, ring announcer, and commentator for such pro wrestling promotions as Chikara, Ring of Honor, Kaiju Big Battle, Evolve, Bar Wrestling, and many, many more. But above all of that, I am a great, big wrestling fan. And ladies and gentlemen, right now is probably the best time in history to be a wrestling fan. There's so much going on in the world of pro wrestling between WWE, the Indies, AEW, Japan. So much going on. Let's just dive right in. Let's talk about wrestling. This past Sunday, WWE held one of their biggest shows of the year, SummerSlam. And overall, I think it got great reviews. A lot of people were big fans. There were a lot of eventful things that occurred. Probably the biggest one was the re-debut of Bray Wyatt. And they nailed it because they did it the old school way. They brought him in with vignettes and they did it over weeks and weeks and weeks, and they built it up till eventually he made his debut and there was anticipation, and that's the way they used to do things. So it just goes to show you WWE still knows how to do it right when they want to do it right. So here's to the Bray Wyatt angle, which got over like gangbusters. You also had the return of Goldberg, who was kind of rehabbed because of that horrible match he had with The Undertaker in Saudi Arabia. They had him come in, spear Dolph Ziggler a bunch of times, made him look really, really strong, rebuilding his character. Because I think going forward, they're going to be using Goldberg, and I think they want to make him, they want to make him look like the superhero that he's built up to be, and that makes sense. That was a good choice. And then you had Seth Rollins and Goldberg wrestling for the title, and you had Seth Rollins winning the belt back, which I was okay with because it was the only title change of the night, and I'm a big fan of that. I don't like a lot of title changes. I think when there's just one title change, it means something. So his title change, it stood out, and overall I think it was a crowd-pleasing show, so SummerSlam gets a thumbs up. And then the next night on Monday Night Raw, they announced there's going to be a King of the Ring tournament. We're going to have a return, and a little bit later on, we're going to talk about someone who was literally the King of the Ring. But the King of the Ring tournament has always been one of my favorite pay-per-views of WWE, and this year it's just going to be an episode of Raw. But I always love the tournament format. I think it's a great way to get somebody over. It's a fun one-night tournament, and I always love that. I love the one that Brett won. It's a great concept, and I'm glad they're bringing it back. Also on Raw, we witnessed the return of Sasha Banks, who's been gone since WrestleMania. This was a very, very big deal because whenever a wrestler is gone for such a long period of time and they come back, they're going to get a real reaction. The problem was they tried to bring her back as a heel. And that's really hard to do when you bring back someone that everyone's excited to see. And Natty Neidhart was cutting a very emotional promo about her father who passed away a year ago. And their thought was, if Sasha interrupts that speech, she's going to get booed. She'll instantly become a heel. But the problem is, everyone in the crowd knows that wasn't Sasha's idea. They knew that was the writing team's idea. So they're gonna blame the writers, and they're gonna crap on that. They're not gonna crap on the wrestler. And Sasha got a baby face reaction in my opinion. I even heard them chanting "Thank you, Sasha." So that didn't turn out so great. But I mean, still, it is great to see Sasha Banks back in the WWE where she belongs. And just overall, I want to say that Monday Night Raw is becoming a better show. I think it might be because Paul Heyman has been put in charge, and his fingerprints are all over this. You can just see the stories that he's trying to create, that he's trying to tell. He's trying to leave cliffhangers. He's trying to build towards things. He's making multiple feuds, multiple angles. It's got Paul Heyman's fingerprints all over it. But ladies and gentlemen, there is more to the wrestling world than Raw and SmackDown. Ladies and gentlemen, there's also Japan, and they had an incredible finale to their G-1 Climax tournament, as the winner was Kota Ibushi, who has long been considered one of the most outstanding and remarkable talents in the entire world. I had a chance to work with Kota Ibushi in Kaiju Big Battle. He happens to be a big fan of monster movies, so he actually wanted to be in a Kaiju Big Battle video, so we put him in, And he's a great, couldn't possibly be a nicer guy. He's so hardworking, and again, he's got all the talent in the world. So congratulations to Kota Ibushi for winning the G1 climax amongst all this incredible talent like Will Ospreay and Okada and Moxley and Kenta. I mean, that's an all-star cast. So he's gonna go on now to Wrestle Kingdom, which is their big WrestleMania, and he will main event Wrestle Kingdom. Sort of like the way the Royal Rumble determines who main events WrestleMania. The G1 determines who main events Wrestle Kingdom, and Kota Ibushi's gonna go on for that, and that's gonna be amazing. And not only do you have New Japan, not only do you have Mexico, not only do you have the Indies, you've got AEW now with their own TV show that's going to start in October. And AEW has been nothing short of phenomenal. With sellout shows, they've sold out their September show in Chicago, and then their television debut in October in Washington DC is also sold out. So they are just killing it. AEW has really proven that there are enough wrestling fans out there to want an alternative. And when you've got stuff like AEW, and you've got Impact, now you've got the NWA, and you've got the Mexico, you've got Japan, there's just so much wrestling right now. If you're a wrestling fan, you are in heaven. And ladies and gentlemen, finally, a word on the passing of wrestling legend Harley Race. Now, Harley was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up as a kid. He was just, to me, he was Mr. Wrestling. The guy could do it all in the ring. He had a ton of moves. He was doing superplexes, and he was doing pile drivers, and he was just, there was nothing Harley Race couldn't get done in the ring. And he's the creator and the inventor of the flying headbutt, which is my favorite wrestling maneuver of all time. And if you want to go back and you maybe check out some of his older matches, check out some of his matches with Dusty Rhodes, his steel cage match with Ric Flair, even his stuff with Hulk Hogan in the 80s was really good. He won the original King of the Ring tournament, and that's what gave him the gimmick of King of the Ring. But when Harley entered the WWF, he was the King of the Ring. He had been NWA champion for a decade. So they couldn't call him the NWA champion, but they could call him the King of Wrestling. And that was appropriate because he was the King of Wrestling. Just check out a legend in action. I think he's someone that people tend to forget as far as new wrestling fans. Harley Race was the King of Wrestling. If you guys have any comments or any questions, if you guys are excited about the AEW shows coming up in September and October, leave a comment below. If you guys have any favorite memories of Harley Race, please share them with me. I would love to talk about it. And I will see you guys next time for more wrestling right here on WrestleMinute.